Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Witch of Bees and Bones. I apologize for being gone. Things have been so hectic that I actually kind of just haven't had the time to like sit down and do a video for you folks. And today's kind of my last chance. It's an errand day, and I'm wearing no makeup and no wings, and I'm just wearing my workout clothes. So this is me. I'm not going to make any apologies. We all get to be how we are. The one thing I have one caveat for this, is it is motorcycle week here in the Lakes region of New Hampshire. So you're going to hear motorcycles go by my home. I can't control that, unfortunately. It is one of my least favorite sounds. But in today's video, I'm going to do the Q&A that I have talked about, and people have sent me questions and DM'd me and what have you. So I've compiled them. Like, some people asked the same questions or similar questions, so I'm not reading people's names, just the questions that were asked. So let's begin, because this is probably going to be a little bit of a long one. How long have you been a witch? I should say, some of these questions are for people that may be new to the channel, haven't seen some of the older videos, don't know me as well. So it's a mix of kind of new stuff and old stuff. So how long have you been a witch? I think it's safe to say that I've been a witch my entire life. Even before I had the word witch for it, my practice, though it evolves over time with the more things you learn and the more things you do, the foundation of my practice is very similar to what I've always done. I've always spent a ton of time in the woods. Plants and animals have always been sacred to me. I learned how to forage in the forest at a very young age. My parents always had gardens, so growing plants and vegetables and herbs and such is really important to me, and collecting bones. I think there's a question about that later. So big parts of my practice I've always been doing, and it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I had a word for it that clicked for me and that fit. And I'm sorry, I have these screenshot on my phone, so I apologize for having to look at my phone, but there's no way that I'm going to remember all of these. Do you practice Wicca? I do not. My path is a left-hand path and a more rooted in older pagan practices and not really the New Age practices, but I love candles. Well, I do love candles, but this bitch loves crystals. I think they're really pretty, and I am part crow because I love shiny, pretty things. But yes, I do not practice Wicca. I think sometimes people they hear witch and they assume Wicca, which of course for some people that is accurate, but not for myself. What is your favorite food? That's a great question. I would say this is a tough one. When I think favorite food, I think of my mom, because my mom was an incredible cook. Funny enough, when she and my dad got married, she couldn't cook anything, but ended up teaching herself to cook and was incredible. But one of the things my mom, and this is a thing in dozens and dozens that she just did beautifully with, but she made the most incredible whoopie pies I've ever had in my whole life, to the point where every other whoopie pie I've ever tasted like trash to me. I have the recipe, but I don't eat sugar, so I don't know that I'll actually ever have a whoopie pie again. And even though it's from the recipe from my mom and it was her recipe, I don't think it's not going to taste the same. It's not going to be the same. So that makes me a little sad. And I don't know if that's a favorite food, but it's like a fond memory, because she would make dozens at a time, and the whole kitchen would be like stacked with them, and make the filling and all of that, and they were just delicious. But for general day to day, I love Mexican food. I love Asian food. I love Indian food. I love Greek food. I'm vegetarian, not a militant vegetarian. Live your life. If you like meat, get it. Like, knock yourself out. I choose not to eat it. I don't care that people eat meat. It's my choice. So those cuisines kind of lean a little more towards having non-meat options available for a full meal, as opposed to a lot of American cuisine that is like, here's a salad or some pasta. Things have certainly improved. I've been a vegetarian over 30 years now, so wow, that's a long time. Sorry, that just hit me. Yeah, so like when I first became a vegetarian, there were not really any great options with the exception of salad and pasta. So, but and I grew up in an area that doesn't have a lot of diversity. So, getting older and trying different cuisines has been incredible. Had dinner last night with a friend. Had vegetarian sushi, which was delicious. No, I'm just, I like lots of different food. I like fresh food and whole foods. I don't like a lot of processed stuff. Typically, every once in a while, I have a weak moment. But yeah, I would say that that's fairly accurate. What's your favorite book? And what are you reading now? I combined those two questions. So my favorite book of all time, hands down, and I have read thousands of books. This shelf is just like not even a fraction. I've got bookcases all over the house. My favorite book of all time is a book called A Gracious Plenty by Sheri Reynolds. The best book I've ever read, hands down. I've read this book dozens of times. I usually read it at least once a year. Sometimes I read it twice, sometimes quarterly. And I don't want to give too much away in case somebody wants to read this book. But it is about a woman, and her name is Finch. And I actually named one of my cats back in the day Finch, after the main character, and Ward after a dear friend of mine that passed away when we were in high school. So little Finch Ward. And she was burned very badly as a child and nearly died. And so she's heavily scarred from the burns. And the premise of the book is because she nearly died, she now has the ability to speak to the dead and is a caretaker for a cemetery. And because she's considered disfigured, living folks are really, really hard for her. And it's much easier to spend time with the dead. And she talks about the lessons she learns from the dead, as well as the need to be in the land of the living when you are in fact alive. And it's beautifully written, and there's funny parts, there's parts that rip your heart out. And it is such a beautiful, it's a beautiful book, and it's really powerful for me. I've gifted it to some friends. Some people have been blown away by it. Other people are like, oh yeah, it was good. So, I love it. I would consider this really sacred to me. I would recommend picking it up. I think there's something in it for everybody. There's a quote in here, and the whole book is, underlined and outlined, and I'm trying to, I'm sure I have it. Oh, here it is. So I've had some surgeries in my life, and I've spent a lot of time in the woods. And so I have scars on my body. And for a long time, I thought about the scars that happen to us, and then the scars we choose. And there are certainly people that would consider my tattoos to be scars, because you're actually like, breaking skin. And so the idea of scars has always fascinated me. And there's this really beautiful line: "Your truth may not look like mine, but that is not what matters. What matters is this. You can look at a scar and see hurt, or you can look at a scar and see healing. Try to understand." And if you're a person with physical or emotional scars, that may be a powerful paragraph for you. It certainly was for me. But again, this book, I love it. It's my favorite book of all time. And as far as the book I'm currently reading right now, it is called Endless Forms: The Secret World of Wasps by Seirian Sumner. And I heard about this book on the Armchair Expert podcast that Dax Shepard does. If you haven't checked out that podcast, it's exceptional. He has actors, he has politicians, he has authors, he has historians, he has comedians, just people from all walks of life, and it's really good. But I heard the author was on there, and her love and fascination for wasps, and I mean, I love wasps, really intrigued me. So I picked up the book. Sadly, I've been so busy that I'm not that far into it, but what I have read has been really, really good. What else do we have? How's Elijah? Elijah is the most perfect creature I have ever known in my entire life. And I love her so much. She has this new-ish habit. I'm a pretty early riser, so I tend to be up between 4 and 5 in the morning, especially this time of year when it's not dark that early. So she has this new little habit of she'll get up on the bed and she'll like come around and get on my face, and she'll start, like, she has this little trill, and I pretend I'm asleep because I'd like to get another hour of sleep or two if possible, because 3 a.m. is early, even for somebody that likes mornings. And when that doesn't work, she does the only thing she does that annoys me. The only thing everything else she does, like, I literally look at this cat and I'm like, oh my God, look at her, she's breathing. Like, it's the most perfect breathing I've ever seen. I'm obsessed. But she does this one thing that irritates the absolute shit out of me. She'll take her one toenail on her right paw, and it would be essentially like her index, and she starts picking at my skin. And it's not to cut me, it's not to draw blood, it's not to scratch me, it's just to make sure that she can wake me up. And it's like, blink, blink, blink. And then I get really irritated. And then I remind myself, she's 16, she's the light of your life. Someday she's not going to be here. That's going to be fucking misery. So what? She's trying to wake you up. Wake up and love this cat. So I'll pick her up and I'll put her on my chest and I'll rub her cheeks and I'll rub her chin and I'll tell her how perfect she is and how pretty she is, and she'll chirp and then she'll purr and she'll lie down, and then we'll like go back to sleep for like, at this point, 45 minutes. Or if not asleep, at least relaxed, and it makes my heart happy. So for those of you that don't know Elijah, she's my little 16-year-old Manx cat, and she's perfect. So thank you for asking. Actually, quite a few of you asked how Elijah was doing, so thank you for that. What is the best advice you ever received? I'm sure it was from my dad. Okay, he gave me a lot of great advice, but I'm going to share this one with you. So, when I was 16, 16-ish, I'm going to say. Let's get comfortable here, folks. When I was 16-ish, I had my first, like, huge heartbreak. And we've all either been, we've all been teenagers. And I don't have children. So I feel very lucky that I never have to, like, live through this with my child who's heartbroken. But I had my first heartbreak. My boyfriend had broken up with me and left me for my best friend. Sounds so dramatic. And it was. And it sucked, not going to lie. But so first heartbreak, my dad comes home from work and I was, full, like, sobbing. And he's like, Victoria, what is wrong? And I said, what should I call him? Tom. I've never dated a Tom. So Tom and I broke up. And he said, oh, I'm really sorry. That's really sad. I'm so sorry. And he's like, sometimes things just don't work out. And I looked at my father and like indignant. And I was like, but I love him. And again, at the time I felt it. I was like crushed. Now I'm making fun of myself because I'm like, girl, get it together. And my father sits down again. Any of you that have watched this channel know how much I love my dad. Incredible human, incredible father, incredible parent, incredible. So he sits down and he puts his, like, arms on the table and he looks at me and he said, Victoria, just because you love someone does not mean that you're meant to be with them. And the sooner you realize that, the better off you'll be. So 16-year-old me is like, what the fuck does that mean? 52-year-old me knows exactly what that means. And that advice has worked for me through my entire life since then. Once I, like, calm my tits about, like, being so heartbroken. And it's not just romantic relationships. Sometimes friendships end. Sometimes things happen. And you can love that person and they can love you. But whatever, like, sometimes friendships don't work out. Sometimes romantic relationships don't work out. And there doesn't have to be some horrible thing. You can wish them well. You can love them from a distance. But just because you love them does not mean that you're meant to have them in your life. And that was huge advice that I didn't understand or didn't want to understand at the time. I got what he meant, but, like, I was like, how dare you? Like, I'm in love. And so... But later in life, with the ending of friendships and relationships and what have you, that has been incredible advice, and has allowed me to soften around a lot of things. So I would say that's probably the best advice I ever got. Thanks, Daddy. Any fun plans for the summer? Summer's a really busy season or time for me, work-wise, but I am sneaking away for a few days to go to Columbus, Ohio to visit my friend Julie. We're going to do some Pride events. I'm super excited. I'm excited to see her and just spend time with her on her porch. She is one of my greatest hype women, and she knows that I have a need to spend some time alone, as does she, so we'll get up in the morning and we'll, have, mud water or tea or what have you, and we'll just chit chat, and then we'll kind of go our separate ways, and we'll kind of get ready, and then we'll go do something, and then we'll come back and we'll take some time to ourselves, and then we'll come back together. And it's just a really nice flow, and it's super easy, and it's very comfortable. And so I'm very excited, and I get to meet her kitty, Onyx, and I'm gonna smooch his little face off, and we're gonna do some Pride events, which I'm super excited about. So that's coming right up, actually, this coming weekend. And then beyond that, I'm going to Brooklyn at some point, but I mostly need to be around for work and business because it's the busy season. So, but that's okay because work is wonderful. And then on my time off, yard work and such always has to be done. What do you do for work? I own a business. I'm a floral designer. So I do weddings, events, funerals, just general arrangements for birthdays, anniversaries, etc. I also sell art and antiques. I gallery a lot of local artists in the area at the shop periodically, and it's a nice mix. So that's the gist. I wear many hats. What is your favorite scent? So I don't know if this is a question about like fragrance, perfume, or if it's like what is my favorite smell kind of thing. So I'll answer both. My favorite fragrance, there's some I like, but you know that you smell something, you really like it, and you put it on your body, and then your chemistry changes the scent of it. But for years, I have worn Bergamot by Commodity, and I love it. And I just recently purchased a new fragrance that I think I enjoy. I'm still trying to get used to it because I've worn Bergamot by Commodity for so long. And as far as smells, I have a really acute sense of smell. Off the top of my head, I'd say fresh cut grass, lilacs, I'm very seasonal with my scents. I love like the smell of balsam in the winter. But yeah, I love fresh cut grass. It just, like, if I'm driving, I mowed all the lawns yesterday. It took me a couple of hours. But like that smell, and I am so happy mowing the lawn. It's one of my favorite things. I have a friend of mine that refers to me as a sociopath because I love to do laundry and mow lawns. That's fine. I consider them my superpowers. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really. I love the smell of coffee, even though I don't drink it anymore. I miss it. So when I smell good coffee, I am somewhat like Pavlov's dog. Yeah. So, but that's probably the gist. Would you make a video talking about how you process bones? The short answer is yes. The longer answer is I don't know how to do that, frankly. I have thought about it. I've had some people ask. But for one thing, it's a very sacred thing to me, and there's certain things I like to keep private, or not even private. Like there are things I talk about with my practice, but my actual practice of them is just for me. And there are some parts of bone processing that would be activating for some people, and so that video just may not be for them. I also don't want to alienate people or make people uncomfortable. I guess if people don't want to watch it, they don't have to watch it. I guess I'd have to find the balance between being authentic about something that's sacred to me without being too graphic. For those of you that are new, I process bones both from roadkill and animals that I find in the woods. I don't kill anything. As stated earlier, I'm a vegetarian. The only thing I kill is ticks. I would never kill an animal. They're part, I feel like they're part of my soul. So, before anybody gets their knickers in a twist, I don't kill animals to then collect their bones. I would never ever do that. The skulls you see behind me have all been either roadkill or found in the forest. I have zero interest in killing animals. Part of it is finding an animal that's deceased and honoring that animal. Just felt like I needed to say that before somebody came at me. I got my first trolls on last week's video, so I guess I'm doing something right. But it's a hard thing for people, and it's hard for some people to wrap their brain around. For some people, it makes a lot of sense, and for others, it's too much. And I don't want to alienate anybody. So I guess maybe if I could find that fine line between explaining it in some detail, but not making it so graphic for the people. I don't know. Maybe. I'm going to go with maybe. I'm not great with gray. I'm getting better in the liminal space. So I'm going to go with maybe on that one. Will you go back to your shadow work? I have gone back to my shadow work. So for those of you that are kind of new and maybe haven't seen some of the older videos, I love shadow work. It's a very, being uncomfortable and working on myself actually feels good to me, and it sounds counterintuitive, but I love shadow work. And my a fellow tuber witch, the incredible Abby the Witch, I'll link them down below. They made a post on social media several months ago now about taking a step back from shadow work to enjoy the work you've done and the evolution you've made. And that blew my mind at the time. So I took some time off of shadow work. I'm now back at it. In that time away, I really did get to enjoy some of the progress I've made, and in doing so, realized some weak spots. So I'm back doing shadow work and very happy about that. Let's see what else. How's the poison garden, y'all? So I think I mentioned it maybe in the prior video. Over the winter, some trees fell in the storms, and two of them ended up in my, or I guess it's one tree, but two large branches ended up in my poison garden. And with things being hectic, I couldn't get to the to get to it to chainsaw the pieces and move them until yesterday. And it looks like I have potentially lost some of my plants. And I'm really bummed about that. Cue motorcycles. Okay. But now that the debris has been removed and the weather is warmer, they may still come up. I'm hoping. So I'm not panicked yet. These are pieces I can replace, but a lot of them were, at least a decade old and really well established. And I'm hoping because they were so well established that they'll find their way up out of the ground. But it's looking a little sparse at the moment. So we'll see what happens. Do you do tarot readings? I do not. I have been learning tarot. An incredible human gifted me the Brady Tarot a few months ago, and I've been learning that, and I love it so much. And it's something that if I'm going to charge for a reading, then you're going to get the best knowledge that I have, and I don't feel proficient enough with tarot right now to do a reading and charge for it. So I'm still doing readings for myself with that deck, and as I get better, I will introduce that. But I do oracle card readings, and with the oracle card readings, I do some mediumship with that as well. I have a shop on Etsy that I usually remember to link, which I'll remember to link in this video. And I know some people don't love Etsy, so you can always just reach out to me or DM me and set up an appointment. If you don't want to go through Etsy, that's fine. We can figure that out. I have some people that do that. I don't mean to be rude, but is your hair color natural? It is natural. I am, I have silver/gray hair. Both of my parents went gray very young. In my teenage years, I had purple hair and blue hair and red hair and auburn hair and a platinum blonde flat top. Yeah, there was a lot going on there. And so I really enjoyed coloring my hair for like fun, not to kind of camouflage my hair, but to just do fun things with it. And then I started going gray really young, like 16-ish. And my hair grows super fast, and I just said, honestly, fuck it. I'm not gonna try to like upkeep hair. It's gonna do what it's gonna do, and I take good care of my hair. But as far as coloring it goes, the time it takes to sit and have hair colored, and as fast as my hair grows, it would have to be every 3 to 4 weeks, and I don't have time to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I really like my hair, but yes, it's natural. It's funny because in recent years, people are paying big money to have their hair turn silver. So occasionally I'll get asked, "Oh my God, who colors your hair?" And I'm like, "Genetics." And people say, "Oh, is that a salon? Like, where is that?" And I'm like, "No, my actual genetics." Like, my actual mom and dad went gray very young. So, but yes, and I don't mind you asking. It's a reasonable question. It's not rude. Would you do a tattoo tour? I mean, maybe, I guess. I don't, like, if you're interested, sure. I don't, but, they're kind of visible. If somebody wants that, I'm happy to do it. I have just a little bit left on this sleeve to go. I have my elbow, which won't that be fun, folks? And then I have a little bit here to go. Everything else is pretty done. Just need to tie it up. So probably another one, maybe 2 appointments. So the next time I get to Brooklyn, I'll get a little bit of work done on that. I have wanted a sleeve since I was a child, and I know that sounds weird. I didn't know anybody with tattoos growing up. Like, I knew no one until probably my, like, maybe late teenage years. I might have seen a tattoo on somebody or something, but I didn't. But for some reason, I was obsessed with wanting a sleeve, and I kind of kept it in the back of my head. And then I guess almost 4 years ago now, I met this incredible human who is brilliant and kind and talented and a profound artist. And I feel that instead of putting art on me, he figured out a way to bring it out of me. So I feel like this has always been here, or it's always been under the skin, and he brought it out. And so he's the primary artist of this entire sleeve. And some pieces on my back. I have 2 pieces on this sleeve that another incredible artist did, but the rest of the sleeve was done by Sky Winchester. And he has tattooed kind of everywhere, but a bit back, he was living in the Boston area, and he moved to Brooklyn a few months ago, and is a dear friend and one of my favorite humans, and I adore him so much, and I'm very grateful for both his friendship and his artistry. If people would like a tattoo tour, I guess I could figure out how to do that. I've got quite a few. Some they're not really visible, but maybe I could like have somebody take pictures and then I could insert them on the screen. I don't know. I could figure that out if people really want that. But I feel like a lot of them are visible, maybe. We'll go with another maybe. I feel like I'm rambling. Let's see. How's your ancestor work going? That's a fantastic last question. It's going well. I continue to soften around my relationship with my mom, and I'm delving into some of my grandparent stuff. They had their own trauma, but I felt like I needed to maybe deal with some of my own trauma before dealing with other like ancestral trauma. But I had this really incredible experience this morning. So I live in the town that I grew up in. And I moved away for college and graduate school and for my first professional life, and then I moved back here. So there's a lot of folks that I know that knew my family. And so I ran into a family friend today in a store, and he's like, "Oh my God, how are you?" And, we just did the like chit chat catch up, and he goes, I've got to tell you something. And he said, "I knew both of your parents really, really well. And I know that your mom could be a real bitch. Sorry, Mom, but not untrue." And he said, "But you have figured out a way to take the best parts of both of your parents and make them who you are today, and you've really done well." And I was really touched and blown away. So he's misty-eyed. I'm crying in a store. We gave each other this huge hug. And I can accept that compliment. And I have worked hard. But my softening around my stuff with my mom has allowed me to be really proud of myself and not ashamed that I have part of her within me. So it meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot to me to be able to enjoy that experience. So again, I've still got work to do. We're never done, but it's going well, and it feels good. So I know this is a long one, guys. I think that might have been the last. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything important. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think I missed anything. So I appreciate all of you so much. I'll be back sometime next week after I get back from Columbus. I would love for you all to see something or hear something or taste something or smell something beautiful. I really believe that beauty does help sustain us. And so I will be back with you very soon. And I adore you. I love your comments. I respond to them all. If you're a troll commenting, I'm sorry, that's your life choice, but that's fine too. Everybody deserves to be heard, or at least wants to be heard. So I will be back with you very soon, and I adore you, and have an incredible day.